Everybody, how are you guys doing today? Super excited to be here. Welcome to the Sanctuary Stories, a look into Project Chimps, the sanctuary for former research lab chimpanzees. I'm Jeremy Kigover, marketing manager of Project Chimps, and with me is Brandon Bump, donor relations coordinator and former chimp care staff here at the sanctuary. Brandon and I will be giving you a live look inside one of the 3 habitats every other week here on YouTube, answering your questions in a live chat. So just a reminder, if you have any questions about chimps in general, or maybe what their diet is, or whatever the case is, where we're located, anything like that at all, go ahead and put it in the YouTube live chat. We would love to answer your question if we can work it into the broadcast here today. We're answering your questions again in the live chat, like I said, and we're thrilled you're here. So thank you so much for being here. We are located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia, where 101 former research lab chimpanzees call home. So overall, it's just a really great day here at the sanctuary, as you can see. But unfortunately, Brandon, I think there's very little activity today.
Yeah, the chimps, they decide when and where they want to go. And if they don't want to be outside, sometimes they choose to stay in.
They do, and they have that right. This is a sanctuary, not a zoo. And so therefore, that means the residents, the 101 residents of the sanctuary, can choose to do what they want to do. There is one chimp, however. Let's see if I can pinpoint it. It's up here on the platform. There's one chimp right there. So we're kind of staying on this camera, at least for now. There actually is a chimp in that tree, on that structure, enjoying the summer day. Brendan, you're actually down there in Georgia. What's the weather like out there? Is it oppressively hot still, or is it kind of, there we have a little friend there floating around. Is it oppressively hot, or is it actually a nice summer day?
It's a beautiful day outside right now. About upper 70s, I would say, probably at the moment. Sunny,
Okay.
Not a cloud in the sky.
Well, and there's no question as to why that chimp is up there on that platform. Then there is a question, however, why we don't see more activity, which I'm going to look for other camera angles here in a minute. But as much as we love to show you the chimps during the Sanctuary Stories, these live streams, sometimes you can see right now there's just not a lot of activity going on like today. So that said, the Harmony Villa group is out in the South Habitat right now. Brandon, we didn't go through the villas last time on the very first episode of Sanctuary Stories. You can go back and watch that, by the way, on our YouTube channel if you'd like. Click that like button on this one before you head over there. We would really appreciate that. But Brandon, how are the villas? How many villas are there? What are their names, and why do they get those names? In other words, why is this one, for example, who's in the South Habitat today, why is it called Harmony?
Right. So we do currently have 6 villas. So each villa is the house that the family group lives in. So we have the Harmony Villa. We have Chateau A and B. We have Cedar Tree, Chimps Ahoy, and Harmony, as the one you just mentioned was. The reason we have the chimps separated into family groups is because we place the chimp, the family group that we believe and the lab that we received, the chimps believe, will live together the best, will be harmonious together. And Harmony was actually named Harmony. It was a private donor that sponsored that villa. And that donor actually opened the naming of that villa up to the public. And because they wanted the best representation of how we would like the chimps to live, and that's in harmony together, in as natural an environment as possible. Cedar Tree was named and sponsored by Billy Joe and Adrian Armstrong. Billy Joe, as you may know, is the Green Day. Chimps Ahoy was named by Kat Von D, who you guys may know was a tattoo artist on Ink Masters. Retired from that. She actually went on to create a vegan cosmetics line. So she has always been an advocate for animals in general, and she loves the chimps. Chateau was named by Lori and Carly McGrath. And am I missing one? Cedar Tree.
You see the Bob Barker one?
I think that's it.
You see the Bob Barker DJT? Did you say that one? Or I may
Oh,
have missed it.
DJT, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, I knew I was missing one there. DJT. That was my goodness. Um, DJT was sponsored and named for Bob Barker's wife and mother, and it was the Bob Barker Foundation that actually sponsored that villa.
Yeah, just a really cool naming convention way where this, if you sponsor a villa, you get to you basically control, if you will, what the name of the villa is going to be. We have a lot of wonderful, interesting names. My personal favorite name is Chimps Ahoy, of course, because it's just a fun pun on Chips Ahoy. Really, really love that name. So props to props to Kat Von D for that one. Just a reminder, by the way, if you have a question, please leave it in the live chat on YouTube. We'll try to answer it if we can work it into the stream as we see fit here. Brendan, you're on the donor relations team now, but you were in chimp care when you first came here to the sanctuary. Can you kind of give me a story? What was your first day like in the villas? Actually working in the villas, not the training part and all that stuff, but just your first day in the villas working with the chimps. What was that like? And while you answer that, I'm going to try to find another camera that maybe has some more action.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I had never had any experience with chimpanzees or apes in general. I was completely, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but it was a very powerful experience because the first day that you're in a villa, obviously the chimps are very loud, very vocal, very rambunctious, and always on the go and moving around. And so it can, to the untrained eye, it is very chaotic. So I guess my first word to describe my first day with the chimps was a little chaotic, but quickly turned into love for the chimps. I've always been passionate about animals in general, which led me to this job. And working with the chimps, that first day may have felt chaotic, but each and every day that I worked with the chimps, and even continuing to this day, even though I don't get to be around the chimps as much as I used to, you fall in love with them the more you get to know their different personalities, the different things they like and don't like, and just you really get to experience firsthand how intelligent they are.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The different personalities really strikes a chord with me. When I lead tours at the sanctuary, which is every so often, I'm usually asked what my favorite story is, and it comes back to personality, right? A lot of people ask, are the chimps different? How are the chimps different from us? That kind of thing, because we share, I think it's 98% of our DNA, or whatever the number is, 96%. So my point is that I'm asked that quite a bit, and so my favorite go-to story is when I was helping out with chimp care one day, and they were doing some training. And training, for those who don't know, like the behavior experts will come in and they'll say, okay, they'll be working with Leo, for example. And okay, Leo, show me your, the left shoulder. They'll pat their left shoulder, and Leo will present his left shoulder against the mesh. And that way, if there's ever any kind of things that's think it's needed at all, like the chimps know how to work with us, essentially, right? So that's a real crude way of saying it. But my point, though, is that they were doing the training session. I was just witnessing, and the reward was grape juice, okay, out of a squeeze bottle. And 3 or 4 chimps, no problem. Hey, right shoulder, left shoulder, whatever. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, great. Here's grape juice, and they loved it. And they got to one chimp again. I don't remember which one it was, but we got to one chimp, and okay, right shoulder, and then they give the grape juice, and it just kind of she didn't even taste it. And I was like, what, not a fan of grape juice? And she goes, no, she likes Welch's. We're out of Welch's. Welch's was sold out at the store, and so this is the store brand, and she's not a fan of the store brand. And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever, and it really connected me actually to the chimps, because I was like, okay, my son at the time was 12, and I was like, I cannot wait to go home and tell him this story, because he's picky. And so if you have all of that, going on at the same time, it's so fun to be able to see their reactions to similar things that kids or even teenagers go through. And that was a perfect example, is the grape juice. Like, no, this is not my jam, you know?
Right.
I'm currently trying to find another camera for us. We were looking at the south yard there, the termite mound, but there's not, again, a whole lot going on today. It must be a real lazy day out. out.
Yeah, they must be just their nests and their porches, and it looks like we got some movement out there.
Okay, well, let me see if I can get
Might
the
have
camera.
might have been a reflection. Yeah.
But yeah.
So while we're looking for some chimps, I can go into a little more of the training aspect detail if you'd like.
That'd be great. Because I'm saying it very crudely. I'm a marketing manager,
absolutely.
not a chimp care guy. So the fact that you're going to explain it way better than I do. So please do.
Absolutely. So and when I lead tours, I do get a lot of questions about, training and behavior and things like that. So all of our chimps, we have a behavioral expert on staff. Her name is Chris. She's wonderful. She has a team of dedicated care staff members that are trained to train the chimps. And what we train the chimps for is to present body parts to the mesh. So that way we can inspect them, give them good like body rating scores, things like that, to see if they're eating too much, eating too little, to inspect any wounds they might have. As everybody may or may not know, chimps are somewhat aggressive when it comes to dealing with issues within the family group. And so minor wounds sometimes happen, scrapes, scratches, never anything too serious, but things that our vet team or our caregivers do like to keep an eye on, keep note of, and to check for infections and things like that. Also, what this does is we are able to give injections if we need to, because the chimp already knows to show their arm, their leg, hip, to the mesh. So we can give them injections in a very stress-free way. We don't have to anesthetize them or go through the whole process of separating them from the group in order to do this, which is just a lot less stress on the care staff, but more importantly, less stressful on the chimps themselves. Grape juice is a very good reward. Most of the chimps love it. We do have some chimps, as you were saying, that are a little more picky. They will sometimes use peanuts as a treat, as a reward for training, and sometimes with some more prominent training, something we really, really want the chimps to learn and to get used to, like needles or things like that. Sometimes we'll use something sweeter like dates. The chimps absolutely love dates, but with the sugar content, we try to keep those kind of down a little bit, just to ensure the health of the chimps themselves.
For sure. And if you just saw that, the chimp over at the window, there's people at that window over there. And I believe, Brandon, you can back me up on this or not, there's a field trip happening today. And so that may be part of
there is
for the elementary school, led by the incredible Ron McInnes, one of our amazing volunteers. But yeah, so one of the chimps went over there and greeted that window. So that's going to be some stories that those kids and teachers or whoever's there are going to tell for a long, long time.
Absolutely. And I will say that the chimps absolutely love kids. They love tours in general. They love seeing new people.
Yes.
The chimps do remember, who they see on a daily basis, who they don't see, who they see regularly. And when new faces are going on tours or anything like that, a lot of the chimps will come up to the windows. Some of them will display or kind of show off at the windows to, kind of put on a little show for the tour guests, as well as show off their excitement to see new people. But kids especially, they absolutely love. So we do have an event coming up called Chimp or Treat, the weekend before Halloween, $10 for a kid's ticket. With every kid's ticket comes one free adult ticket, and it's $35 for any extra adult that wants to come along. But grab a few kids if you have some friends. If you don't have any kids, if you have some friends that got kids, grab some kids for the day. Bring them up to Project Chimps in a nice costume. They'll be able to walk around and get some candy from some of our sponsors. They'll have booths set up around the sanctuary, and the Chimps absolutely have a heyday with the costumes.
They do. When I was hired, they told me, they said, hey, you got to wait for Chimp or Treat. They don't, the Chimps love little humans, and then they love little humans even more when they're dressed up as Spider-Man. And you're like, why? And then you see it, and you're like, oh. Like, you know, I've got a bunch of videos of, I got Hercules doing a handstand for two princesses. I mean, Brandon speaks the truth. If you've not joined us for Chimp or Treat, and you're in the Blue Ridge Mountains area, obviously, or you can travel to the Blue Ridge Mountains, please plan on being with us. Obviously, if you're in California or Wyoming or Africa, you know, maybe future planet. But if you're drivable to the Blue Ridge Mountains the weekend before Halloween, we always do Chimp or Treat. It sells out every year, and it sells out for a reason. Not only is it a great event, and you can kind of dress rehearsal your costume, right, your kid's costume before the big day, but also it's amazing because the Chimps interact at the windows like they don't. I mean, you know, they do other times, like you just saw, right? But I mean, like in general, like there's so much more activity because they don't know why these little humans are dressed as Iron Man or whatever.
Yep, and the more colorful the costume, the more enriching and interesting it is for the Chimps. So, dress up in your craziest costumes, come as a colorful clown or princess, your favorite superhero, all of that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's such a fun event. You gotta come down for that. Our next stream, by the way, will be Friday, October 3rd at 11:30 Eastern. But then in celebration of Giving Day for Apes on Tuesday, October 7th, we are going to have a special live stream on that day as well, on Giving Day for Apes. Brandon, for those who don't know, what is Giving Day for Apes?
Yep, so Giving Day for Apes is an annual global day of giving to support primarily primates and other wildlife sanctuaries protecting apes around the world. The event is organized by the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries and aims to raise awareness and funds for the welfare and conservation of apes. The event takes place on October 7th, and it will feature a live event with early giving opened until October 7th. So if you want to participate in Giving Day for Apes, you can support various sanctuaries. Hopefully you choose to support us because we are strictly funded by private donations. But donating to our cause would be directly helping our chimps, the 101 chimps that we have on site, live as natural and carefree a life as we can possibly give them.
Yeah.
There also is a prize pool of grants for participating sanctuaries. So the sanctuaries that raise the most money get some of that prize pool as a grant in order to support our operation.
Yeah, think of it like a global competition, right? Think of it like a friendly competition, right? Everybody, of course, wants to, raise money for their own cause and all that thing. But just the fact that, we're competing against our region or whatever the case is, and if you come out first, you get this prize. Second, you get this prize, whatever the case is. So, yeah, right now we have a $60,000 match happening. So if you donate $100, you're actually donating $200. Only $100 out of your pocket, but you're donating to the sanctuary $200. Just one example. So yeah, Giving Day for Apes is a big deal. The sanctuary, 101 chimpanzees. Each one of them costs an average of just about $39,000 a year. So if you do that math, 39,000 times 101, it's a lot of money, right? And that goes to food.
It is.
It goes to their diet, any medications they may need, standard vet care. Again, habitat enrichment, right? All these things, it all goes to that. It's basically averages out to $39,000 per year per chimp. And so Giving Day for Apes, of course, is our major fundraising event of the year.
Correct.
All right, Brandon, we've got some activity down here in the South Habitat. the North Yard, excuse me, the North Yard. So this is actually not Harmony. This is, I believe, Chimps Ahoy 1.
This is Chimps. Yep.
So this is now. You'll have to correct me on this. Is this the Chimps Ahoy 1? Is that the new males, and or how are they? Do you know how they're divvying those up?
So Chimps Ahoy 1, I believe Chimps Ahoy 1 is Kirk's group, which is the original group from Chimps Ahoy. As our audience may know, on July 8th, we received 6 new chimps. They all did move into Chimps Ahoy. We are currently in the process of doing our introductions. So their quarantine period has ended, and now we are currently doing introductions. But because they're not fully integrated as of yet, they are still primarily separated. So one day, Kirk's group will go out. The next day, the new group will go out. So yeah, right now it is Chimp's group that is out. Kirk's group that is out. Excuse me.
And those kids over there and at the window who are still there clearly are having a good time.
Yeah.
If you head to our website projectchimps.org and click on the big hero image of Bozo there, you can learn all about the 6 new chimps that Brandon just talked about who came to Sanctuary from the lab this summer, and you can even watch a video of their journey, which went live on our YouTube channel and our Facebook on Tuesday the 16th.
Yeah, if any of you guys are even a little bit curious as to the process that goes behind bringing chimps from the lab to our sanctuary, that video is gonna really kind of open your eyes and answer some questions, because it is quite a long process in order to get these chimps to our sanctuary from the lab.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. It's awesome. Even if it is like a 5-minute video that's, easily digestible for somebody on their lunch break or whatever the case is, it's for their stream on their phone. It's a short time, 5 minutes, but it's so fascinating to see the process and to understand what is actually happening and how it actually happens and takes place. And it's wonderful. So yeah, if you get a chance, please go check it out. Just go to projectchimps.org, click on the hero image and you'll see it. Or of course you can go to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook, which hopefully you do already anyway. You can see it there as well. Just a chick had a comment there, Brandon. She loves that we do field trips, and it's never too early to learn about nature and compassion. And I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. And not only do we host field trips, we do work with a lot of schools in our area, anywhere from, kindergarten or first grade age all the way up through high school. But we also work with the local Boys and Girl Scouts in the area as well. We have badge programs for the Boys and Girl Scouts.
Yeah, we do.
So they do a lot of stuff for us as well, while giving them that kind of unique experience of working around the chimps.
So, Brandon, as we close out here, because we usually spend out, 20 to 35, excuse me, 15 to 25 minutes on the stream. It's been a little slow day, but we kind of picked up some steam here with some chips in this live cam anyway. As we close out here, what this chimp here seems to be foraging for food. So can you kind of just talk about that as a former chimp care employee? Why do we make them forage? Obviously that's not the right word, but why do they do that as opposed to just handing them, hey, here's some peanuts or whatever?
Right. So naturally, chimps spend about 70% of their time foraging. In the wild, that is how they find their food. They forage. A large portion of their diet in the wild actually comes from fruits, figs especially. They absolutely love figs in the wild. So instead of just handing each individual chimp their food, they go off into a corner and eat it. Foraging not only is a more natural way for them to eat, but it all brings a family group together. It's a way for the group to work together and kind of be together while searching for food, and it just brings the family group unit closer together, a little more bonded, if you will. So we don't like to just hand them their food. We like to give them as natural a life as possible. And because obviously we can't ship the chimps over to Africa and just drop them off in the wild, the second best thing that we can do is replicate. We can replicate as close as possible to what they would be doing in the wild.
Yeah, that's just it, right? People ask that all the time, so much so on tours that we actually have a sign at the end of the tour that says, "Why don't we just put them back in Africa?"
We do.
Because they would not have. They were born and raised in labs. Okay, they don't have they don't have that. They wouldn't have the skill set, right, to be able to survive if we put them back in Africa. I said, okay, hey,
they wouldn't be able to find they wouldn't even know what to eat at that point out there.
Correct. Right.
So
yeah. So the foraging is a big deal because, again, as Brandon said, they spend a lot of their time in the wild. If they were in the wild, they spend a lot of time searching and hunting for food, and so the foraging just helps not only enrich their brain, keeps it stimulated, but also it kind of, again, replicates. Great word, by the way, replicates what they would do were they to have the life they should have had at the beginning. So it's so fun to see them do that. But I have gotten that question before. It's like, well, why don't you just hand them a bag of, dates, or here's some celery or whatever? Okay, well, we do that. Like, we have to make sure that each chimp, for example, is, at breakfast, for example, like they get, okay, this chimp is on a diet, so they only get this much food, or whatever the case is. We do that, and the chimp care does an incredible job at that. But in the habitat, when they're out there, if they go out there, they have the ability to forage and kind of search. And there's they even do a patrol. I've seen them actually patrol. The males get together and they'll do a patrol of the area, along the wall there, just as they would in their natural habitat.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because you'll see that some of the higher ranking males will do that patrol around the perimeter of the habitat, and obviously they can see the other villas from the perimeter of their habitat because they're all connected. And so the males, as they're doing their little walkabout throughout the habitat, will see the males in the other villa hanging out on their porch and will display. And actually kind of, I don't want to use the word taunt because that sounds mean. So they don't necessarily taunt the males from the other villa, but they will, you will see them kind of posture up and just say, "Hey, I'm here. Look at me."
Yeah, this is my yard right now. It's
right.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. If you go watch the documentary Chimp Empire, I believe it's on Netflix. Don't quote me on that. That's a tremendous look at chimpanzees in the wild and how they act and their instincts, how they take over and how they defend their territory. And you see a lot of that. You'll see the males get together. Okay, it's patrol time, and they just go patrol their area. And it's fascinating to see these chimps that have spent their time in labs and now in sanctuary still revert back to that. They still go, okay, it's patrol time, or they, again, foraging for food, all those things. Because, again, in the sanctuary, it's not a zoo. We're trying to replicate as best as possible what their life would be like were they to have been in Africa in the wild the entire time.
Yeah, and that really a really good example of instinct over learned behavior, because obviously that behavior is not learned because they were born and raised in captivity in a lab.
That's right.
So it is actual behavior. So it's very that's another one of the cool things that I love about working with the chimps is you can see, especially with chimps that were born and raised in the lab, you can see the difference in instinctual behavior that you'll see our chimps do that chimps in the wild will also do. And obviously they couldn't have learned that from the chimps in the wild. So just getting that opportunity to see the difference between what is a learned behavior and what's an instinctual behavior is fascinating.
We can't thank you enough for joining us here today. This has been Sanctuary Stories, a bi-weekly live stream where we give you a live look at what's going on inside one, or in this case, two of the habitats. Before you go, please click like and don't forget to subscribe as well. We'll be back on October 3rd. Again, that's a Friday, 11:30, same chimp time, same chimp channel, For Brandon Bump, I'm Jeremy K. Gover. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Y'all take care.